Good morning, grade 8. Today our lesson is on Pythagoras word problems. Example 1. Sam walks across a rectangle field in a diagonal line. The length of the field is 600 meters and the width is 400 meters. How far does Sam walk to school? So first thing is I highlighted some important pieces of information that the length of the field is 600 and the width is 400 meters. So you always want to start off with a diagram. This is my rectangle. This is 400. This is 600. And they said he walks diagonal. Diagonal means from one point to the other. So that's my diagonal. So in order to figure this out, this forms a right triangle. And to figure out my answer, I want to draw my triangle. So this is 400. This is 600. And this is my C, which I'm looking for. I can label this as my A, this has my B. So in order to solve this question, I have to use Pythagoras. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is 400 squared plus 600 squared equals C squared. Now, when I ask you to square something, you're going 400 times 400, which gives you 160,000. Plus 600 squared means 600 times 600, which gives you 360,000. Now the numbers are on the same side, so I'm going to add my numbers together. And when I do that, I get 520,000. Then I want to take the square root, and then I want to take the square root. So if you take the square root of 520,000, you get 721 meters. And that's his answer. So Sam walks 721 meters. Example 2. Maria measured a rectangle and wrote the length is equal to 17 centimeters, width is equal to 12 centimeters, and the diagonal is 22 centimeters. Could these measurements form a rectangle? So they are asking you, does this form a rectangle? How can we know that? So our first step is to draw our rectangle, which is 17 by 12, and they're saying the diagonal from here to here is 22. Remember, this forms 90 degrees, and that makes our right triangle. So from this rectangle, I'm going to take out my triangle, and I'm going to pretend I don't know what C is equal to. I know this is my B, and I know this is my A. I'm going to calculate my C. That's my first step. So in order to calculate my C, I have to go A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A squared, is 12 squared plus 17 squared is equal to C squared. 12 squared is 12 times 12, which is 144, plus 17 squared means 17 times 17, which is 289, and that's equal to C squared. And then 289 plus 144 gives me 433, and that's equal to C squared. Then I'm going to take the square root, and then I'm going to take the square root. The square root of 433 is 20.8. So when I calculated the diagonal, we got 20.8. They're telling me that the diagonal for this rectangle is 22 centimeters. So we know this is not correct, because in order for this to be a rectangle, the diagonal I calculated and the diagonal they gave us should have been the same. So I can summarize this to be, so we can summarize and say no, because the diagonal calculated does not equal the diagonal given. So these are not the measurements of a rectangle. Example 3. A checkerboard is in the shape of a diamond. Is a triangle right triangle? First, I apologize for not a very nice diamond, but that's my diamond. And it's saying all four sides are the same, and those sides are 19, and the line going across is 26.9 centimeters. So they're saying, is this a right triangle? So my first step is, let's draw our triangle. Right? Now this is 90. I know this is 19, which means this is 19, because all my sides are the same. The line cutting it across is my diagonal, and they're saying it's 26.9. Okay? Again, I'm going to pretend I don't know what that is, and that's what I'm going to calculate. I'm going to label this as my A, this as my B, and that as my C. I'm going to use A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A squared is 19 squared plus 19 squared equals C squared. And then 19 squared means 19 times 19, which gives me 361. So 361 plus 361 equals C squared. And I want to add those two numbers together. I get 722 is equal to C squared. Then I'm going to take the square root, and I'm going to take the square root. The square root of 722 is 26.9 equals C. So if I look at this particular question, I calculated 26.9. They gave us the diagonal as 26.9. So we can summarize this question as, I can summarize this as, yes, it is a right triangle because the diagonal calculated is the same as the diagonal given. The last example is, a 5-meter ladder is placed against the building. The foot of the ladder is 2 meters from the base of the building. How high up the building is the ladder? So in this, we have a ladder which is 5 meters long, okay, and we put it against a building. When you're doing a question like this, really important to draw a picture. So this is my building. That's the street or the grass. When I place a ladder, I place my ladder diagonally. So this is 5 meters. This forms my 90 degrees. Okay? The foot of the ladder is the bottom. It's called the foot of my ladder. This is the base of the building. They're saying the distance from here to there is 2 meters. They want you to find how high the ladder goes up. So from that picture, I can draw my triangle, which is 2, 5. My A is missing. That's my B, and that's my C. Again, I use my formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I don't know what A squared is. B squared is 2 squared, and 5 squared. A squared plus 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. 5 times 5 is 25. This time my numbers are on the opposite side of the equal sign, so I'm going to subtract. A squared is going to be equal to 25 minus 4, which means A squared is equal to 21. The last step is to take the square root of each number. So the square root of 21 is 4.6 meters. And that is how high your ladder is. So you can summarize this in a sentence. And that's the end for the word problem examples. If you have any questions or concerns, please email me or send me a message on Teams. And I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you. Bye.